Do you feel the truth in that? And I love, thank you, Max. He's really taking care of us. Yay. Oh. Sometimes I just say, I'm only here for good. You know, sometimes God isn't a good, the word that really means anything. I'm only here to love. I'm only here for good. I'm only here to contribute. And we're here. That means that you still have something to contribute, to love, to show up for, to be the expression of the goodness of. So thank you, Josh. Many of you know that Joseph and I have lived in India many, many times for many, many months. And one of the things we love about that country and those people is that you can dialogue with people about really important things in a very short period of time. If you happen to be walking down a crowded street, you've seen those street scenes of India, that's how it is, and you happen to be walking next to somebody else for more than 20 steps, they'll engage you in a conversation. Or you're at a chai shop, or you're at a food stall, and you're just, eating. And the next thing you know, usually they want to know where you're from. And I think it would surprise you to know how many times they say, "What is your religion?" So that really caught us off guard the first few times, because I don't know about you, but never in all my tens of thousands of conversations in North America has anybody ever asked me what my religion is. It's kind of like, mm-mm. So, are you Christian? They see us. Are you Christian? So I think about that, and I thought, not at the time, but afterwards, well, if by Christian you mean that Jesus died for my sins, and I need to accept him as my Lord and Savior, then no, that's not me. By Christian, if you mean that I know I was born in sin and that I'm spending the rest of my life trying to redeem myself and that I need, help to do that, no, that's not me. And then ended up with the question, well, am I a Christian? I don't know. But the question stuck with me. And so I did some research many, many years ago. And before AI, I went on Google, define a Christian. And so they gave me some of the things that I've already mentioned, and I went through one website after another website after another website. And I'm thinking, oh my gosh, maybe I'm not a Christian. I keep reading. And finally I come to one that says, someone who aspires to live by the teachings of Jesus. I can do that. If that's the definition of Christian, I can do that because I think Jesus was a master teacher. So, so what I thought I'd do today is take a few of, you can have a different list, 3 things that I think were some major teachings, and just speak about them for a little bit. And then also, this is our month of release, the power that's activated right now. And then we'll have a short little contemplation time, and I'll ask you some questions, and we'll just consider what would we need to release to be living these teachings. So I'll speak, we'll have a little contemplation, and we'll do that 3 times as rotation. You with me? Okay. It's a little bit different. Thank you, Joshua, for accommodating me. Oneness. We are one. This is the first one I like to talk about. Jesus said, the Father and I are one. Of my own, I can do nothing. It is the Father who does the work. So what he calls the Father within, I guess, in unity, we would call our divine center, our divine identity, our divine DNA, the part that the divinity of self that lies within us. And this is the place that we believe everyone has this place. And this is the spot where we connect as one. Because there's no life on this planet that does not have that divine spark in it. That is our field of oneness. It's inherent in each one of us, but not just within us, it is us. Some of you are familiar with Eric Butterworth, a Unity minister and author, and he said it like this: God does not live in us like a raisin in a bun. I thought, yeah, because you could take the raisins out of the bun, right? When I was a kid, we used to eat Raisin Bran. And actually, I'm not really fond of raisins. And so, I would pick them all out. We cannot take God or spirit or our divinity out of us, right? We cannot be separate from it. I like the image of the wave in the ocean because everything the wave is, the ocean is. Everything we are, everything God is, we are. You can't take a wave out of the ocean and still have a wave, right? It disappears. So, oneness. A few years ago, I read a book. And before, I was in a bookstore. I'm trying not to buy books anymore. But this one, the title just grabbed me. There is no other. There is no other. That's a bold statement. And it really got my attention. So the author actually calls us out. She calls us out on all the ways that we see ourselves as different, less than, better than, separate from, and all the behaviors that we do that create division and create separation. Jesus did not live like that. He washed his disciples' feet. He ate with the outcasts. He touched lepers. He defended those people who were marginalized, the poor, the women, the children, the tax collectors, the ill. He sat down with them. They were not an other to him. He saw the divine in everyone, no matter how they showed up, no matter what their circumstances, no matter what their behavior. He never lost sight of their divinity. So our oneness does not rest in how we look or what we do or what we say or how we act. You can look around this room right now. We do not look the same. We don't have the same life experience. We're not dressed the same. That's not where the oneness lies. The oneness lies in that we are all divine creations of the one creator. Namaste. You know that term probably. The divine in me sees the divine in you. That's where we can connect with each other. That's where we are one. So I invite you now, we're just going to take that thought into the silence for a moment. If you'd like to just take a deep breath, perhaps that helps you center yourself and fall into this quiet, still place within. And you can ask yourself, where do I see the other? Perhaps someone comes to mind. And the bigger question is, what could I let go of in order to see the divine in that person? What barriers have I erected that keep us apart? Just take a couple minutes to consider that. What do I need to let go of in order to see the divine in others? If there is no separation, then what wall have I built where I've blocked somebody out? Or built myself in? All right, well, we'll just shift our attention a little bit and bring yourselves back to this room. The second one of Jesus' teachings that I'd like to share today is forgiveness. Forgiveness was not a common practice in Jesus' time. Jesus was a Jew. The people around him were Jewish. They followed the Torah, what we consider part of the Old Testament, where it says an eye for an eye and a tooth for a tooth. Jesus brought a radical new idea to the people around him, moving away from retribution and revenge and asking us to transcend those activities or our feelings about that by practicing forgiveness. It was an unknown concept. It was challenging for people to shift their thinking and their behavior. Gandhi, who admired Jesus' teachings, said, and you probably have heard this, an eye for an eye leaves the whole world blind. And so when someone asked Jesus, because it's not always easy, well, do I need to forgive, 7 times? And Jesus says, no, not 7, but 7 times 70. I don't know if you've done any forgiveness work, and then something comes up, it's like, oh man, I thought I dealt with that. It's a practice that we can continue doing all the time. Forgiveness, I do all-day workshops on forgiveness, so that just the one sentence that I'm hoping to share with you today, forgiveness is not about letting the other person off the hook. When I do these workshops, I don't even use the word forgiveness in the title because otherwise nobody would show up. No, I don't want to do forgiveness. I call it walking the path of power. It's not about letting the other person off the hook. It's about letting yourself off the hook, right? The chain that binds you to that person that we keep alive, is the cause of our own suffering. So I have 2 stories I'd like to share with you. One is back in the 80s, I was the office administrator for an alternative school. And one day the board chair sent me, I don't even think we had email back then. She must have left a note on my desk saying, the board would like to meet with you, blah, blah, blah. I said, okay, fine. So I show up at the board meeting, and she starts off the conversation by, basically, we feel like you're wasting our time, wasting our money. We're not really seeing that you're very productive. We don't know what the heck you're doing, blah, 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 blah. And I'm just like shocked, right? It's just totally stunned. I was not prepared for this at all. I had no response, basically. So I did actually work there for a few more years. And then, of course, decades go by. And I get a phone call from one of the little kids at the school, now a grown man. And he says to me, I'm getting married. And I heard you're a minister. Would you marry me? And I said, oh my gosh, yes, of course. That would bring me so much joy. I said, who's your fiance? Guess who? The daughter of the board chair. Oh my gosh, okay. It's been a long time. I can see her again. I mean, obviously, I have to show up professionally. I will see her again. Maybe she's even given her actions some thought, and might even apologize or acknowledge that, right? So we're at the dress rehearsal dinner, and people are circulating, or just the reception, and then the young fellow says, "Hey, yeah, and here's my mom." And I went, "Oh, hi." And she said, "Hi." And then she walked by and just started chatting to the next person, the next person. And I thought, oh well, And then she comes back and she says to me, "Do I know you from somewhere?" So this was like, I just thought, are you kidding? Like, you don't remember how you just treated me so badly? I said, "Oh, yeah, I used to work at the school." "Oh, yeah, and then she wandered off again. So who's the one who's suffering? Not her. I'm the one who's walking around with been hard done by story that I carried for 20 years. It works both ways. 10 or 15 years ago, I contacted another spiritual leader and I said, "Would you like to co-facilitate a workshop with me?" And she said, "Oh, yeah, sure. Let's get together, have tea, because I'd like to talk to you first." And I said, "Yeah, of course." So we get together and she says, "Really, before I can do this with you, I really need you to acknowledge how badly you treated me a few years ago." And I'm sure the look on my face said it all. I had no idea what she was talking about. No idea. So she'd been carrying all this. And meanwhile, I'm living my life. I got nothing left from that conversation, the time we had met before. So who's the person who is carrying the pain and the suffering? The person who will not let go. The person who keeps the story alive. Yeah, us. So let's just take that into a moment of silent contemplation. Perhaps another deep breath is in order. Bring to mind someone you hold a resentment towards, or you're mad at, or who wronged you. We usually have somebody there. Consider that they may be happily living their lives, and you are the one who is burdened. Picture an imaginary rope tying you together. Could you just drop it? Drop the rope. You are the only one who has the power to do that, to set yourself free. I'll just take a couple of minutes to consider that. As you let yourself off the hook, perhaps you can even feel how much more lighter you are. You don't have to tell that story anymore. You don't have to carry that grudge. And now one more breath, and then we'll bring our attention back. The last one is empowerment. Empowerment. There are many accounts of Jesus healing the blind, the paralyzed, the sick, the epileptic. And if you read those stories, you will see that Jesus never claimed to heal people. Remember back at the beginning, one of his sayings, "Of myself I can do nothing. It is the divine within me touching, our divinity touching each other that can create that situation." Because what he did do is give the person a chance to see, or call them up higher to see that their wholeness was already within them. He never saw anything less than the divine in all the people that he encountered. He never asked, because people would come to him. They'd hear he was in a town. They would come to him, or they would bring a sick person or carry someone who was lame or something like that. And he never said, "Okay, so what's wrong with you? How long have you been like this? What did you do to deserve this?" That's the human story. He's only going after the path of oneness, the path of the divine. He's not focused, doesn't need to or want to hear the story. It's kind of like if you call Silent Unity for prayer support, they don't answer the phone saying, "What's wrong?" Right? "How can I pray with you?" That's how they answer the phone. If you want to tell your story, you can tell your story, but I'll tell you, telling the story keeps it alive. Jesus had only one question over and over again. Are you willing to be healed? Are you willing to be healed? There's a great example of this in a story in the gospel. So Jesus is visiting the pool of Bethesda. And in that, it's a large gathering place. The water's not very deep. It's supposed to be healing water. It's supposed to be special water. And when the water starts to ripple, then that's the time, this is the belief. They didn't, whatever. That's the time to get in and get healed. So this is what it says. There was a man who had been there for 38 years. When Jesus saw him lying there and knew that he had been there for a long time, he said to him, "Do you want to be made well?" The sick man said, "Sir, I have no one to put me in the pool when the water is stirred up, and while I'm making my way there, someone else always steps in front of me." All his reasons for being there for 38 years. So have you heard this before? Have you said these kind of things to yourself before? Well, I'd like to do that, but I can't because fill in the blank. Well, I tried to call someone, but they never pick up. I'd love to go to the gym, but I can't afford the membership. That's all the story, right? Same stories. 2,000 years ago, same stories as we tell now. And the man didn't even answer the question. Do you want to be healed? He went straight to his story about how it couldn't possibly happen. 38 years is a long time to be right on the edge of your healing, waiting for someone or some circumstance that was going to do it for him. And maybe the man was comfortable being where he was. Maybe we are as well, just on the edge of our healing. Maybe the man saw the pool as the healer and didn't recognize that there's no outside, that it's within him, that it was within him to do that. Jesus showed people over and over and over again. He sought to show people that they had the power, that they had the power. One of the most profound statements that Jesus made is, "These things I do, you too can do." Anybody know the next part? "And even greater things than these." Years ago, I was at a Unity convention, and we had Barbara Marks Hubbard was one of our presenters. I don't know if you're familiar with her. She's a very well-known, outspoken person about spiritual evolution, the whole evolution of human consciousness. And she she said, you know that quote, the one I just, these things I can do, you can do, and even more. And we all went, yeah. She goes, the thing that I love about Unity people is you actually believe that. You actually believe it. It's kind of the opposite of anything I can do, anything you can do, I can do better, right? That's a line out of an old musical. No, it's anything, Jesus is saying, anything that I've done, you can do, including all the miracles. You can do these and even greater things you can do. Kind of a scary thought, actually. Probably takes some responsibility and some accountability. All right, so we're going to take that into our last time of silence and consideration. If you'd like to take a breath again. Perhaps maybe ask yourself, where am I stuck waiting by the pool? Thinking that my good is outside of myself, in someone else's hands, that I need to wait for the right circumstances to experience my good. What could I release so that I could just step into that? Just step into my good right now. And the second question for consideration is, where do I play small? What is standing in the way of me waking up to my whole self, my capital S self, and listening to what it's calling me to be? It's not about the doing. It's not connected with the physical world. It's connected to your divine essence, your state of being. What is standing in the way? What could I release? So just close this time of contemplation. Bring your attention back. Well, thank you for traveling this journey with me. Touching on some of the teachings. Oneness, the place, when you feel like I have nothing in common with this person, they drive me nuts, I wish they would disappear out of my life, all those kinds of things, never forget that their divine core is the same as yours. Now, this doesn't mean that you put yourself in the way of harm or abuse or anything like that. You can do this from afar if you need to. But this is the place where there is no separation. Forgiveness, I encourage you to set yourself free. It may feel hard, but it's worth it. It's really worth it. Empowerment. Yes, you too can do these things and even more. Namaste.